Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of Storytime with PanManTactLuci510. So, for tonight's Storytime, we are going to continue with Narcissu, first and second. So, just to backtrack a little bit, if you watch part 1/1.5, we actually did prologue and chapter 1, which I didn't think we did, but we did it, so we are going to continue with chapter 2. So, and as you can tell by the time right here, it is late, so what better time to start story time with PanManTactLuci than late at night. So I'm basically going to do this at night as part of the title Story Time with PanManTactLuci510. So let's continue. We're gonna load my progress. I believe we were on chapter 2, if I'm not mistaken. Alright. A few days later, plunging further into the depths of winter, during this time that the rest of the world called exam period, we were sitting, watching TV, the same as ever. What's new? This is boring. So it is. This exchange that could not be called a conversation. We'd spent all our days in this fashion, killing time without meaning or purpose. Speak of which, when is it for you? Today. I see, so it's today. That word, that today, was the temporary discharge that she alluded to earlier. So, we may not see each other again. Yeah, I guess that's true. Because if she were to be readmitted to 7F, that would be her last time. And in that time, I'd probably get discharged and readmitted myself. No surprise. It didn't seem likely that things could be so timed that we could see each other again. Have you decided yet? About where I'm going to die? No, about when you're gonna come or stay with me. I worded that wrong, but still, yeah. No, not yet. I see. She nodded somewhat sadly, the expression of someone being discharged for the second time. I still felt nothing about the situation, and I hadn't heard from the doctors about my first discharge. Come to think of it, I wonder if she'd finally decided on what her own answer to the dilemma would be. Click, click, click.
Setsumi,
everything is set. A lady came up to us with these words. This was probably her mother. She nodded slightly at me. I did not rise. We'll be leaving soon, but are you all ready? Yeah. Well, have a nice day, sir. She nodded slightly at me again, and then turned to leave this place. She did stretch out her hand towards the girl who was likely her daughter. That's all I heard. But the girl did not move at all. She stayed rooted in her chair, even after her mother had grabbed her hand. What's wrong, Setsumi? It hurts. A little. Release your grip, woman, damn. What? Where? Your chest? Your abdomen? Those are some weird places to ask where you're experiencing pain. Jeez. My chest. Stay right here. I'll call the doctors right away. And then she ran away. Click, 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 click. She took off in visitor-use slippers in a sprint towards the nurse's station. Help me, help me. There were but two things left in this place. Her and me, both in chairs. nurse. I did not know a thing about her disease or its status, and I didn't bother to ask. The only things I knew were courtesy of her white ID. Her name was Setsumi, and her blood type was O. But we were inhabitants of 7F, and she was older than me, if just by a little. Hey, do you want to lie down over there until the doctors come? I pointed at the corner of the lounge, at the couch, at something I had never seen used. It'll support your back after all.
別にもう平気よ。
Doesn't matter. I'm fine now. I lied to my mother, so we can be alone. Saying those words and nothing more, she stood up quickly. Hey, wait. Don't do anything foolish. But she was already halfway down the corridor before I could finish the sentence. Stupid headset. Nightfall. After lights out. Bored of reading manga as usual, I wandered through the darkened hospital, and a ghost happened to appear in front of me. The usual lounge, now pitch dark from the absence of light. That was where I found her, sitting there watching TV. Hey, so you're still here? Yeah. What's up? Not feeling well again?
別に
No, really. Was all she said as she stared out the window. So her discharge had been postponed after all. No one knew when the next chance would come, but it would probably be weeks from now, not days. Hey, could it be a shooting star? That you feigned illness today? No, that probably wasn't the right way to put it. See, you couldn't say that we weren't sick all the time. What I'm saying is, you didn't want to leave the hospital, did you?
意味がわからないわよ。
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Because there is no afterwards for you now. Ooh, he's putting her in her spot. But there was no answer to my question in her silence. She had asked me so many times before about where I wanted to die. And it had always been that I didn't know yet, and that she didn't want to die at home or here on 7F. I'm telling you, she wants to die in your arms tonight, because it was something that you said. So you have no other place to go after all.
だったらどうなのよ。
And what of it? No, nothing. This familiar lounge, flooded in darkness. Her familiar stance, looking out the window without so much as acknowledging my existence. This place we call a hospital, and its extinguished lights in spite of the fact that it was only 11 p.m. or so. This was the tangent point between what was normal and what was not. On top of that, we were inhabitants of 7F, bereft of any choice save one: death on 7F or death at home. The outside world that she was staring at from the pitch black height of 7F, the normal world. The buildings and homes were still radiant with lights, and the streets overflowed with people going home. And although my awareness of it was still vague, I was already an inhabitant of 7F, already in abnormal essence, its existence. There was no longer any way for me to go back to that other world. Was there now? My time was at a standstill. I'd spent so many seasons, so many wide overcast skies, without the want or need to converse with anybody. At first, I would look down at the healthy kids going to school and the people walking back and forth on the streets. And when I got tired of that, I always watched TV. Nothing else to do, nothing else I could do. Even when there was snow outside the window, it was always bright and sunny inside the TV screen. A dream world stretching out before my eyes without heat, without cold, without pain. I sought comfort from my imagination, and so I amassed a huge knowledge base. Meaningless trivia among meaningless trivia, over and over. And before I knew it, nothing that appeared on TV seemed real anymore. And in quick succession, it also happened to books, games, and then my family. Finally, I was unable to view myself as anything real, as if I was staring at the scenes of another person's life. That's why I was not surprised, even when they transferred me to 7F. But if I close my eyes, the world will always vanish. So I thought I'd be fine, as I did as I thought, and I did as I thought. And soon enough, my second discharge from the hospital. By the time of my next admission, I'd probably be too weak to stand by myself. I found my own self, the one who couldn't do anything even though she knew this, to be pitiful. I found my own self, the one who had no destination, to be ridiculous.
時間を止め、心を止め、胸に大きな傷跡を作り、
My time is at a standstill. My heart is at a standstill. My chest standing still with huge scars.
それでも22年も生きてきたのに
I'd lived for
哀れ
20.
だと思った。
I'd lived for 22 years now, and I found myself utterly helpless. January 19th, 2005, 7F. A few days after that, the overhanging clouds had cleared up, and an endless winter sky was in their place. Oddly enough, my father had come to visit, a difficult expression on his face the entire time. But he was saying something or other about my insurance. And at that time, his eyes were not unhappy at all. Damn, that's a fucked up dad. I have to talk to the doctors for a bit about about your insurance premium as soon as you die. Saying this, my father strode down the corridor towards that dim conference room where this had all begun, or so it seemed. My hospital room was now empty. Having nothing to do now, I reached for the weekly magazines that they brought at the stands for me. And accompanying them, just as ever, there were fruit and drinks as get-well gifts. And to one side of the basket that the fruits were piled in, right in front of the melons that I so hated. What I saw was a set of car keys. The keys shone silver. These were the keys to my brother's pride and joy, that coupe he'd sweated over from the upholstery on outwards. The coupe that I had asked to borrow a long time ago, and I'd been told no without a single second's delay. And my still unused driver's license in the breast pocket of my pajamas. Even after it had lost its chance for use that day, it remained with me, waiting, as if that were its proof of life. Click! In silence, I grabbed the keys. It happened as if on impulse. I had no idea what my motives were either. I just seized them without a second thought, as if I were looking at a scene on TV. And within a few days' worth of meds that I had been dispensed, I stuffed those in a bag, and I headed down the corridor. Run, run, run! I forgot where I was going with that. I snuck past the nurse's station and quickly strode towards the elevators. A bag in my right hand, the keys in my left, the long neglected driver's license in my breast pocket. In front of the lounge. And the next thing I saw was the girl sitting there watching TV, as per usual. Hey baby, you wanna go for a ride? Staring blankly and boredly at the screen, sitting on a little foldable chair. Hey, is that show any good?
そう見える。
Does it look that way to you? No, not at all. Which is she's always how I seem to express myself around her. The all too expected exchange. Her eyes looked as far away as they always had. Well then, shall we go together? What? I continued talking as I showed her the keys in my hand. See? I don't want it to be at home.
私は7階も嫌。
And I don't want it to be on 7F either. Well then, shall we go together, baby?
うん。
Okay. With that, she stood up from her chair. Her hair swayed with her and grazed the tip of my nose. And that feeling like I was gonna sneeze came back again, just like yesterday. And then she too stuffed a few days worth of meds in a bag. And we made it to leave 7F together. I switched off that boring TV. The grating laughter of the MC was forever obliterated. Both of us in pajamas clad boarded the elevator, headed down from this top floor down to IF. At IF, I know it's one up, but the one literally looks like an I, so I'm just gonna say I. At IF, we headed not for the ER entrance, but for the outpatients clinic entrance. Whoosh, whoosh. The cold winter air struck away at our faces, all the more strong in a wide open space like the parking lot. The two of us wandered around the spacious field, looking about ourselves with unease, and without an alarm, I couldn't tell which car was which. And after a little while, we came across my father's car. The silver coupe, a Honda, what looks like a Acura Integra with an M logo, so I'm guessing that was supposed to be a Honda or a Mazda. My father's pride and joy, impeccably maintained. I immediately inserted the key and opened the door. Click! Go ahead, get in.
わかった。
Very well. Thud. I sank into the driver's seat. She was in the passenger seat, but she was so short that she'd have a hard time seeing the road. I turned the key into ignition and stepped lightly on the accelerator. That is an M. So it's a Mazda. A Mazda. I don't know. And just as I learned during training, reassuring engine noises fluttered into the cabin. I released the handbrake and then applied the clutch. Now we could go anywhere. That was our plan. Alright, let's go. Until I run out of gas and we're forced to push the car to a gas station where we can't pay for gas. Okay. She nodded slightly. Instead of replying, I shifted into second gear, and the car accelerated smoothly. Unused to the clutch and swerving slightly, I advanced slowly.
揺れるわね。
You're swerving. Swerving, turning. Switching lanes in the turning lane. Yeah, it's my first time in a car. Don't judge me. Well, it's the first time since I got my license that I've driven a car.
そう。
I see. The exit to the parking lot was now in view, and the largest road beyond it. Without traffic lights, I turned onto it. Beep beep. Speed it up, boya. The sound of honking car horns. They were directed at me as I cut into the road. I'm cutting all you motherfuckers off. Do something. The silver coupe complained but did not stop as I worked the unfamiliar clutch, the stiff gearbox. I must really have rubbed the other drivers the wrong way, as the honking of horns did not seem likely to cease. But I just continued to drive without caring much. None of his cars seemed to roar at all. Hey,
何？
what is it? Are you scared? Fuck yeah, I'm scared. I'm driving with an inexperienced driver who just recently got his driver's license and never drove in his life. Not to mention we're in a stolen car.
怖がった方がいい。
Do you want me to be? No, not really. So before noon, the high-flying sun, the skies of January, above and beyond the windshield, skies so blue that they seemed almost in morning. We had no destination. We had no gas either. On that cold day with an alien clutch and a swerving car. On that day when we drove onto the highway in our pajamas. On that very day of winter. January 19, 2005, Ibaraki, Mito Highway. Around when that blazing high sun had changed into a dusky orange, we were continuing to drive, just driving in any direction at random, and in a place I did not recognize. We're stopping for a bit. Okay. I finally brought the car to a halt. A roadside somewhere, far away from civilization. No traffic anywhere to be seen. Lonely. Having stopped the car in this nameless place, I started inspecting around the cabin. Damn, getting tongue-tied. If there was anything useful here, we'd just run off without any preparation at all, but there was something troubling leaping out at me. With that on my mind, I first scored the dashboard. There's nothing here at all. A couple hundred yen flutter around the gear stick, a few manga volumes, and a cheap disposable camera. It wasn't as if we had a destination, but the onboard GPS navigation system looked broken. Pride and joy, and you can't even maintain your GPS system. And I only had about 8,000 yen on me. That was all the money I had lying around when I up and left. So combined with the pocket change I found, I only had 9,000 yen or so. Of course, I hadn't really expected that there'd be anything in the car anyway. But this lack of money presented a problem. It wouldn't be possible for us to find lodging on this budget. And it didn't seem likely that this girl would have any money on her either.
どうかした？
Is something the matter? No, it's nothing. Whatever. I'd half expect this from the beginning. It wasn't as if I thought this through enough to have things like a plan or a schedule. I just wanted to get out right then and there. I did not want to stay where I was. Underneath the curtain of twilight, I started up the silver coupe again. Hey, are you hungry? I asked her as I drove along. Come to think of it, she hadn't eaten anything since morning. Want to stop at a convenience store or something?
いや、
No. Hey, don't be like that. And the food's much better than anything up on 7th. She did not respond to me. Instead, she looked straight down at the pink pajamas she was wearing. Oh yeah, that's right. I looked down at my own clothing. Sure enough, in these pajamas, we'd be conspicuous no matter where we went. Not that we weren't conspicuous right now. In any case, we'd have to do something about them. And having made my decision, I steered back toward civilization. After a little more driving, we arrived in a place whose name I didn't know. Probably somewhere close to a rail station. Certainly enough people around for it to be the case. There's gotta be one around here somewhere. I looked around anxiously as I drove, my back pitched a little forward, not touching the seat. Ah, there one is. At last, a coin laundromat. It looked pretty run down from the outside, on the first floor of a small forlorn building. This was as good a place as any. I stopped the car not far from the entrance to this place. Oh god, are they gonna do what I think they're gonna do? Alright, I'll be back in a second. Huh? Thud. Leaving her and her confused face in the car, I walked into the laundromat. Oh god, he's gonna do it. My nose was filled with the smell of bleach and detergent, and the moment the automatic doors opened, the exact interior of the laundromat told no lie. The washers and dryers were old and run down as well. There's nobody here. The empty laundromat swallowed whole my murmured words. Only a single dryer was in operation, making its characteristic humming noises. I immediately walked to that machine and checked its timer. It looked like it would operate for 30 minutes on 200 yen, and only 5 minutes had elapsed so far. Whoever it was had probably gone elsewhere to kill some time. Ruminating over this, I looked around just one more time to reassure myself that no one was around. Then, satisfied that I was all alone, I put my hand on the door handle of that drying machine, and I abruptly opened it. Kerthunk. Its door opened during operation. The dryer spun down to a forced halt. I pulled out a clump of half-dry clothing, ignoring the heat and the humidity. And after looking around once more to make sure no one was around, I walked out of the laundromat just like that. Wow. You stole a car, and now you're stealing clothes. This kid is clever. Click, bud. Oh. She sounded slightly surprised when she saw my arms full of clothing. But I threw the clothes in the back seat without a word. Alright, let's go. Whir, boom, boom, boom. I looked back at the bundle of clothes with the steering wheel in one hand. Godly looking sweaters and jeans and almost nothing else. All in pretty big sizes at that. All still wet, but the car's heating would dry them out soon. Change into whatever you like later. She didn't react much to those words either. She just looked back at the pile of clothes. Look, we had no choice.
わかってるわよ。
I know. Well, obviously, it wasn't as if I liked doing this kind of thing. And it wasn't as if there was anything I was saving that money for. It was just that given the amount we had, it would be very difficult to buy new clothes. After I'd driven for a bit, around when the moon shone full above us, I stopped the car next to some public park, probably a place for children to play, tucked away in the corner of a residential area. In there, I started looking stolen some time back. They were mostly dry by now, thanks to the heating in the car. All men's clothing after all. I'd inspected the heap once before, a veritable mountain of gaudy jeans and sweaters. Probably someone around my age, around the same size looked like, and sitting in the driver's seat of the car, I changed into a pair of jeans and a sweater. Hey, you should get changed too. They're all too big. Then will you go on wearing pajamas forever? Fine. She answered reluctantly, grabbed some jeans and other clothes, and opened the door. Hey, where are you going? Well, she's a girl, and you're a boy. Where the fuck do you think she's going? To get changed. And just like that, she started walking to the park's bathroom. Click. Hey, that was fast. She'd come back in short order. The pink pajamas that she'd been wearing in her hands, a white shirt, and a pair of jeans on her body. Well, that turned out fairly well. No answer. I'd expected this, but everything was too big and baggy on her. The jeans were too long and rolled far up at the cuffs, and the sleeves of the shirt were much the same way. The pajamas were better. Come now, don't say that. It's a little warmer this way at least. She made an only slightly dissatisfied face at my words. Oh, is that it? Were you hoping for more girlish clothes? Not really. The same response as ever. I was sure that she was unhappy with her baggy shirt, but she soon returned to her usual lack of expression. It had begun to rain all of a sudden. A freezing rain falling from the frigid January sky as if it had forgotten how to stop. The countless raindrops splattering on the windshield and obscuring the view from the inside. And when each grew too large for service attention to hold up, a few of them gathered, slid down, became rivers. And these rivers swallowed up raindrops underneath them and ran to the bottom. I stared emptily at the rain from the inside. A parking lot somewhere, a desolate place in the middle of the mountains. Having finished shopping at the convenience store, we were spending the night here. Dinner menu: 2 rice balls, 500 milliliter Pocari Sweat, half a bag of potato chips. It's been a long time since we last did anything like this. Yeah. She murmured with the convenience store rice ball in one hand. It wasn't anything of wonderful quality, but it was far better than anything served up in 7F. And when we were both going after the potato chips, she stopped reaching for it. She suddenly stopped reaching for it. Is something the matter? Not really. But her eyes were turned past the windshield, glazed by the rain. At a few white flowers on the roadside. At some flowers soaked by rain. I didn't know if someone had planted them or if they were wild, but I remember something about them. Were those Narcissus? Those are Narcissus. Alright, Narcissus. Well, I didn't know flower names all that well. I had at least heard of Narcissus before. And this girl who seldom spoke a single word was actually talking about something. And so, I speaking of which, are these not exactly the real deal as well?
厳密には違う。
Yeah, something like that. So they must be pretty rare then.
別にどこにでもあるわよ。
Not really. You can find them anywhere. Anywhere? And where exactly? Right here. It wasn't as if I had any deep purpose in asking. It was just that I was making conversation as best as I could. And yet this girl thought about it for a minute and slowly opened her mouth.
西
West. West?
淡路島が有名。
Awaji Island is famous for them. Awaji Island? Hey, wait. How far away do you think that is? I just started driving a car, so I wasn't even halfway proficient yet. It was probably about 700 kilometers away, and even on the tollways, I couldn't say how long it would take. And in the first place, I didn't think we had enough money for that. If we went by normal highways instead of the tollways, there was no way we'd have enough for gas. Hey, don't say stuff like that. You can't mean to go there, right?
誰が行きたいなんて言ったの？
Who said I wanted to go? What?
問われたから答えただけ。
I just answered your question. And just like that, she went back to staring at the flowers across the windshield. The thick haze of the cold rain seemingly on glass. She kept gazing and gazing and gazing. I didn't particularly want to go there either, but I had nowhere else that I wanted to go. Alright, chapter 2 is done, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I did say I was going to do one chapter a night, but I'm kind of starting to wonder whether I should do chapter 3 or not, or just save it and just... Oh shit. What did I do? Okay, good. Nothing happened. So... guess one chapter a night.
時間の止まった私。
My time was at a standstill. Okay, so we're gonna save here. And... I guess we'll end it here for tonight. Or... damn, I really don't know whether I should keep going or not, but... I guess deal's a deal. One a night, so... yeah, chapter 3 will be tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed Storytime with PanManTactLuci510. Stay tuned for part 3. Alright.